Anyone else? All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
I've been giving this quite a bit of thought lately, and at the last meeting, we heard a lot of frustration over, we're talking about VRDs, over what people can or cannot do. And it occurred to me that while we are working diligently and we are working forward, and I think we're making some progress, that it might be wise to let them get on with their business this year. And so I will make a motion that we do not do enforcement of the accessory use or the time limits for the balance of the year of 2016, and that is a formal motion.
Well, I would second that motion. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have just a question. In December of 2014, we instructed the city manager at that time to begin enforcement. None took place. And the current law says we're supposed to enforce. Why are we suddenly deciding not to enforce? That's my question.
At this moment, there is no clear-cut idea on exactly how many days you can rent, whether we're going to change it, are we going to get rid of the accessory use. There's a lot of questions in the air, and rather than putting everybody in absolute limbo, I'm just saying while we're working on it, let's just not enforce it through this year. Let's let people get on with their lives. That would save a lot of angst in this city. I believe. That's my opinion, and that's why I made the motion.
Right. And I would agree with that. It's really been the anxiety level, and wherever you fall on this, we are discussing it again, and we are coming towards what I think is going to be a conclusion, closer than I think we've ever been. And I would heartily recommend that we accept this motion. It just makes sense to ease the frustration and the anxiety level, and then we can come up with a nice, clear decision, hopefully without everyone yelling at us in the intro about where they're going to be and what they can and can't do with their property that they've been allowed to do.
Mr. Mayor?
Sir.
I think that just turns on a green light and says we can just rent however we want. That's what concerns me.
And I understand. I think that what Mr. Ryan's motion was just through this year until we come to that decision. Again, I think it's a wise decision.
I would even modify it to say until we make a decision or till the end of the year, but I think it would be clearer if we said till the end of the year.
I agree.
Mr. Mayor?
Sir.
Just a point of order. Is, under Robert's Rules of Order, can the chairman make a motion or second a motion?
I think I can second.
I believe
Yeah,
you can second.
You can second?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
I would like to speak to this if you would like to hear it.
Sure.
Ever since Measure 56, you can only do land use by ordinance, which means no resolution or motion or proclamation can change the law when it's a land use regulation. And I've said this several times during our discussions that the law is what it is. If you wish to change the law, you have to pass an ordinance. So I realize that certainty is important to VRD owners in terms of what they can do and cannot do in the coming year. In the past, the council had adopted by ordinance a settlement, a compromise, basically, of 180 days. That was not a determination that you were entitled to rent 180 days. It was simply an offer, which was not imposed on anyone. It was a settlement proposal. If you wanted it, you can take it. And as I've indicated several times, there are only about a dozen VRDs, or actually last time I looked, there were about a dozen that were over 180 days. I would think if you want to go the direction of the motion, you should give direction to staff to come back with the appropriate ordinance to implement that idea. Perhaps an alternative might be to and perhaps a faster alternative might be to reinstitute the settlement offer as that was adopted by council, supported by findings, and upheld by the Land Use Board of Appeals. So it might be a very short process since you've already gone through that. That kind of effort might achieve some certainty while you're talking about these other alternatives.
Mr. Mayor,
Well, if I can just, oh, yeah, please.
if I could, I'd just like to ask a question on that. Is not enforcing an ordinance changing the ordinance? Is not enforcing the ordinance changing the ordinance?
I don't think it is.
It's still there.
The ordinance is still there.
That's a question. I don't know the answer to that. That's a question.
It's in my mind just asking not to do it.
What would be the difference between not enforcing and declaring a moratorium?
I would look at the issue of saying we're not going to enforce to be basically declaring a moratorium on enforcement. I see that as the ordinance. Public officers are required, it's a crime, not to enforce a law that you are entrusted to enforce. So I would want to adopt a law that excuses non-enforcement of an existing law. So if you want to suspend operation of a law, I think you need to do it by ordinance under Measure 56. If you want to direct staff not to enforce a law, I think since staff is required by law to enforce that, I would think that following the correct procedure would be to either enact a moratorium on enforcement or adopt some other alternative. That's my advice.
Well, then I would change my motion to enact a moratorium on enforcement of the BRD ordinance until December 31st, 2016.
Again, I would second that. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I guess we'll do a roll call on that one.
Yeah, I've got a comment, question. This is the first I've heard of this. As far as I'm concerned, it hasn't been vetted by anybody on staff. I haven't seen any written proposal. I'd like to see a written proposal, and I'm not ready to vote yes on this.
Okay, so,
And, Mr. Mayor,
please.
I guess I would share that same concern with my own thoughts being, again, I spoke last council meeting about the uncertainty, or I guess it was at the work session, understand the uncertainty that this creates, but, we've had a vote of the people in May of last year. City manager's been out with a lot of town hall meetings, community meetings on this subject of VRDs, and I repeatedly have heard, just enforce. And back to the May election, overturned what voters, citizens who elected you, overturned a proposal, ordinances. And when you make those came from initiatives put up by other people, and when you do that, there are bound to be uncertainties and consequences that nobody knew. So I'm not very sympathetic right now, to try to rush or appease somebody when I agree with the mayor that, good work is being done, a lot of discussion. I think you're moving ahead to a resolution, even though there was one, a year plus ago. So, laws are slow. And again, we have another group of people putting more initiatives up who are bound and determined to overturn anything this council puts forth. So honestly, I'm not very sympathetic. And quite frankly, I'm not interested in working real hard on this, knowing that there's going to be an election sometime, on this initiative, until these people get what they want. I'm not motivated to try to find some common ground. And the only thing, Mayor, that we have right now to get people to the table is a little, in the form of leverage, is uncertainty. And we've got 90 days or so. Let's move ahead and, bang it out. And, you've already spent 2015, So you won't be seeing my vote for
Okay.
not
Any
enforcing.
Further discussion?
I'm not comfortable with the time frame. It just leaves the whole year wide open. I'm not comfortable with that. I think that we will have something resolved before that time is over, and I can't support that.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, well, then a roll call, please.
Sprague,
No,
Walke,
No.
Williams,
Yes.
Anderson,
No.
Norikis,
No.
and Ryan.
Yes.
Motion fails.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Ryan. Anyone